Now for a look at some of the movers this morning. Jenny Horne is with us, co-host of Next Gen Investing. We're looking at Tesla this morning, and it is moving in the pre-market. Obviously a lot ahead for Tesla, but a lot in the rearview mirror from last week.
Yeah, especially following that 14% move to the downside on Thursday. Now, we did actually make a pretty quiet, decent attempt to recover on Friday, but with some downbeat analyst news to start off this week, we did get a downgrade to neutral from outperform at Baird. The analyst did go on to say that right now, with a strong performance following a fundamentally poor quarter, they have now seen overall a lot of anticipation for the launch of the June, of course, right now unveiling of the Robotaxi as well as a more affordable vehicle. But they also do believe that Elon Musk's comments regarding the Robotaxi ramp rate are a bit too optimistic, and that this excitement has been priced into shares. They also did note that Musk's ties to President Trump have added some considerable uncertainty, and they do still see this name as a core holding, but said that right now they are stepping on more to the sidelines. So the price target, they did remain unchanged at 320. That does still put them actually in a more optimistic camp of thinking of the sell side. But also, we got some news that one of their top AI executives left the company on Friday, which was read as a pretty big setback for their Optimus project, which has been pretty central to Musk's vision of transforming, of course, into a robotics and AI company. Plus, we did see in a post on X that he said he was leaving for personal reasons, but his support in Musk, right, for Musk as well as Tesla is ironclad. So saying it's not really a bigger issue, it's not really signaling that there's going to be any major fallout between he and Musk. Just the timing of it, I think, is a bit concerning. All this to be said, though, this is really ahead of what we could see from Tesla this week. Of course, Thursday we do get the Robotaxi event, and we will hopefully get more clarity on what the timelines for FSD do look like. So that is going to be hugely important. I do think that this will be a pivotal week for Tesla, and hopefully we don't see a buy the rumor, sell the news type event.
Yeah, I mean, look, they really face a lot of hurdles when it comes to the regulatory environment and getting the okay for full self-driving. You had Ross Gerber recently saying Waymo is way better, but there are still so many believers. I mean, Cathie Wood was out with some really high price targets for Tesla over the weekend. I don't have them handy, but I remember reading it and saying, wow, she is on board in a big way. Also, you have to have the friendship between Musk and the administration, because you still have the correlation between NASA and SpaceX. So all of these things are intertwined, and investors who are following, obviously, the Tesla stock, and some people are invested in SpaceX in private equity that I know personally. So there's still a huge story going on here with advancing all of this.
Yeah, I think that with regards to Tesla and everything that we're still expecting ahead between the volatile relationship of Musk versus Trump and all of the turbulence that we have known from Tesla just over the last week or so, I think it's going to be amazing to see what that actually looks like as we continue to get hopefully more of an update regarding what it actually looks like for some of these EV credits. Also, what it looks like for Tesla as a company that it's in need of this demand right now story to be revamped. So I think it will be amazing to get hopefully more of an update on that. But last week, it was a bad look for all. It was just really an unfortunate thing to be witnessing. It's like the sitting at the Thanksgiving dinner table between two of your uncles, and you're like, how do we get out of this sooner than later? But hopefully we focus more and more on what we know from the fundamentals regarding Tesla, and that is expected to come sometime this week, Nicole.
Yeah, understood. How about we turn our attention over to one of the Mag 7 names, and that is Apple, one that hasn't performed particularly well, but maybe we'll get some exciting news from the Worldwide Developers Conference. Some of your thoughts on what people are watching for?
I hope so, because first of all, it was the biggest catalyst of Apple over the last year, because as we saw, Apple was underperforming last year. We got their WWDC, and then things really took off. Sentiment completely shifted. We saw this really a renewed interest in Apple's investment into AI, because they've really fallen behind in terms of their cash right now on hand. I mean, no company is more cash rich than Apple, and yet they've spent the least among some of their closest peers on AI. So they need to unveil some big timelines for what that actually looks like. Apple Intelligence has been, as we know, hugely disappointing. And that's just, I mean, like a fact. We have Siri delayed until 2026 or the foreseeable future, they've said. We also did get some degree of updates from Apple Intelligence, but they weren't on the initial launch of the iPhone 16. If you can recall, they came about a month later. And that felt very unusual for Apple as well. And now they also have advertisers right now already pulling because of the fact that they were advertising basically with Siri and they had to pull those ads. I mean, like the whole thing has been not like Apple. And I think it shows that the world of AI is more advanced, more complicated, but Apple has to be able to continue to boast its title as like one of the most leading and innovative tech names out there. We just haven't seen that yet with Apple Intelligence. So I do have this on my phone. I have been disappointed hugely, but I do still use it. So I'm not necessarily saying like it's not worth it. It just doesn't necessarily, I think, drive this upgrade cycle that the street had been anticipating. We heard from so many of the bulls. I know that Wedbush's Dan Ives was one that said this was a super cycle expected to happen. We never really saw that play out to the extent that we expected, at least. So, yeah, I think especially following what was a huge event for Apple last year, there is going to be big expectations on what that means for this year's event. Of course, it does kick off at around 10 a.m. Pacific or 1 p.m. Eastern time, noon here in Chicago. We'll be watching very closely on any update regarding like actual timelines for the unveiling of their new updated Siri. Of course, their voice assistant that has been somewhat lackluster compared to the world of voice assistants, which is already advanced. And also, like, what other features we can expect now from the iPhone 17, any new devices. This is still an iPhone company as much as it is anything. So they need to give proper updates on the iPhone as well as just all things. Of course, Apple Intelligence, because that has been such a disappointment for the company that has always been really at the forefront of all technology. It's been very unlike Apple.
Yeah, and look, I mean, relative performance, if you look back to 2022 when Apple was spiking, the relative performance versus the other Mag 7, in fact, it's down 45% versus the other tech names. So it really shows that Apple shareholders may have a real sense of frustration if they're looking at the other tech names. At the same time, there is a brand loyalty, there's an ecosystem, and maybe another super cycle to come in the years ahead, like according to Dan Ives. And AI monetization also key. So a final quick thought here.
Yeah, and I hope so, because I am part of the Apple ecosystem. I am definitely one of the loyalists. I mean, to me, the most amazing thing about the company is the way in which like $14 leaves my bank account every month, and I don't even know what it's for anymore. I think it's for like cloud storage or something, but that just goes to show the stickiness. I mean, the ways in which we embrace this brand and we let like the loyalty really infiltrate every aspect of our life. We all have multiple Apple devices, so I think that definitely shows the importance of this company to us, and there's a reason we tend to watch this event as closely as we all do.
Yeah, and year to date, down almost 20%. I mean, it's down 18.5%, so not doing particularly well in 2025 thus far. Jenny Horne, great to see you. Thank you so much. And of course, still facing so many issues when it comes to the administration and tariffs and costs and things like that.